Autovision. In this episode, we'll be talking about the Le Mans lineup for this year. A new segment, 3 minutes with myself. Autovision Court is where I get to prove I'm better at arguing than both of them, and the 2013 Detroit International Auto Show.
This year, Autovision ventured to the 2013 Detroit Auto Show. We saw a lot of things that we should program. One of the things we saw was the MX concept. Upon this one, to revamp their brand. It's very rare that you might see a brand completely done over a small SUV concept. But as you can see by the interior, they're definitely changing their pattern. It's a little bit more modern feel. Also, we found the 2012 Autovision car of the year, the Ford Focus S. It was there in that blue color. Very nice car, the reason why we chose it. We also saw the new Ford Hawkins. This is the new truck, exactly the new redo the way that trucks are seen and are going to be done. And I must tell you, if this is the direction trucks are going, they're a lot better looking. If you like not listening to these bunch of groups, I will definitely be for truck market in the upcoming years. Then we saw a Honda Genesis with HCD Voltage. It basically was the most ugly Audi RS7 I've ever seen. Because it was an RS7 later. RS7, RS8, or whatever. This car was incredibly ugly. I was amazed when I saw that Hyundai put that much money to support that concept. And then we get to the big car show. The 2014 started. This is a car, obviously, that Corvette is pictures, but once you see it up close, it does not look good. Now moving out of the TV for inspection. I found this car interesting because we do not know the cars like this in a very small car in the US. The Daytona show, we accept the Volt. South over there and watching China, and we move on to the SRT. They had both the Viper and the race car at the show, showing what, their racing program, how it's about to grow. BMW brought a 4 Series concept that looks exactly like the 3 Series and doesn't even look that much bigger. Audi RS7 was there. That was a concept that I actually really liked. Very good looking car. Going to be fast and very interesting. Happy with the NSX this year. Interior. And yeah, it's still a good car. I don't know, still feels like carbon fiber inside of it. If saw it last year, the car was a pleasure ride. So big sound of see the car actually. Let's now take a look at some of the sights and sounds of sights of this year's show. Now it's time to move on to racing news here. We are just kicking off the season. Obviously, Daytona was an absolutely thrilling race, the 24-hour race, with an hour to go back and forth, and Max Angelelli about wrecking everybody on his way to the front, falling just short at the end to Ganassi, who wins yet again. Well, I guess now let's move on to the American Le Mans Series and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The Sebring Winter Test took place last week. And in GT, let's start, because that's where there are the most cars. Risi Competizione, just coming back. I think there were 6 cars there or something. Their car, their Ferrari 458, did well. Extreme Speed Motorsports, and their Ferrari, they were second. And then third and fourth was this team called SRT Motorsports, who were beating others, and their lap times were competitive. So we are really watching this Viper team go from a team that last year was new and not that incredibly competitive to now they appear to be, that Corvette Viper Ferrari battle could be back.
Let me just correct this. We
are not watching SRT, please
Just
watch
him.
SRT.
I like to watch videos of people going fast, turning left.
You just motioned right. Okay, just give it
Right, left, whatever.
Anyway, the only LMP1 car to race there was the Muscle Milk Picket Racing team. They were the only one that decided to show up. I guess everyone else was busy doing other things.
The Automobile Club de l'Ouest, or ACO, has announced the lineup for this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. So we're actually going to run you through the entire lineup now for cars at Le Mans, starting with LMP1. Alex?
Yes, in the LMP1 category, we have 3 Audi R18 e-tron Quattros fielded by Audi Sport Team Jealous. They did very well last year. Hope to see another great year from them. You've got 2 Toyota Racing TSO30s there. The hybrids did not do well last year.
They did well in the final 2 races, and they won like the last 2 WEC plus Orica's running. So it could be an all-time battle this year.
We've got some Rebellion Racing cars. We've got a couple other minor ones. Not much really interesting here. We've got, some Orica Nissans. We've got a lot of those. Lola cars, and yeah, some other minor teams, but those always seem to put up a good fight. They get up in the big teams' noses.
And then Hawkins, you have the LMP2 category.
Yep. So this year we have Nissan with 4 different cars, with the teams of Oak Racing, Delta, G-Drive, and Sebastian Loeb. Sorry, Dave Printer sucks. Then, also, what I'm glad to see back is Gulf Racing Middle East. Oh, it's going to do well, or at least from what I know, just much.
And now moving on to one of everybody, LMP1 obviously a big category, but another favorite across the board is GT E Pro, which is the new GT2 professional category. I'm not still a huge fan of the categories. I prefer the GTS and GTO. In the GTE Pro category, AF Corsa, JMW Motorsport, and another AF Corsa car will all be running for 458 Italias. Corvette Racing, obviously there with the C6, or with the C6 ZR1. And then Porsche's, obviously, because it's, racing, enduro racing, Porsche's out in full force. 2 SRT Motorsports cars. The interesting note with them, the typical number 91 car, there's already a number 91 Porsche running. That car will be number 94. Same story with Corvette. The number 3 and 4 cars will be running the numbers 73 and 74. Aston Martin has brought 2 V8 Vantages, and in GTM, yet again a lot of Corvettes, Ferraris, several teams actually, IMSA Performance Metlet, a lot of American teams, Dempsey Racing, racing a Porsche here. A lot of American teams, IMSA, different things are running this year. And then you have Garage 56, correct?
Yes, in Garage 56 this year, the same place that the Delta Wing held last year, there will be a hydrogen hybrid car.
Yes.
It's quite interesting actually. It's got 2 motors in it, 544 horsepower, quite a bit of torque because electric motors, they have lots of it down in low range. It's got a direct transmission, no clutch because it's all motor. You've got your onboard electrics, everything is on board, generates its own power. The whole thing's pretty much made of carbon fiber. It's relatively small, but I'm not sure if it'll be as interesting as the Delta Wing, but
yeah, we'll see.
It'll be there.
It could be. This versus Delta Wing eventually. This could be an interesting future coming to racing. And U.S. and now let's move on to U.S. road racing and hashtag the future, as it's being called by Grand Am and ALMS.
The new classes for the merged LMS Grand Am Series have been announced. They include the prototype class, which features the Daytona prototype cars, the LMP2 cars, the Delta Wing, and there's an ALMS GT class, an AM GT, and an ALMS GTC, and possibly a GX class.
The coolest thing I found of this is that Delta Wing's going to be going for overall victories. The way that they're cutting out the prototype 1 category, not happy with that, but it is cool that the Delta Wing will be running for an overall win. The names for the classes will be announced at Sebring at Hawkins, NASCAR.
Go fast, turn left. Guess what? The Daytona 500 is almost here.
As we shoot today, I think one of the first practice sessions for it is actually going on.
I believe so.
So that's what's going on in the world of racing. Let's now move on to Hawkins and his 3 minutes. We will cut him off exactly 3 minutes after he started talking, so we don't have a similar incident to when he talked about Saabs for close to 20 minutes.
Hey, everybody loves Saab, and they have such an interesting history.
And now we start this new segment, 3 minutes with Hawkins, when he has exactly 3 minutes, no more, to talk about the topic of his choice, which happens to be the Ford Ranger this week. So, Hawkins, your 3 minutes starts now.
So as you know, I like Rangers. In fact, I love Rangers. We have two just at our house. So in the beginning, there was Ford and Mazda when Ford had 25% stake. So in 1983, Ford built the Ranger Mini pickup. It came with either a 2-liter inline 4, a regular V6 that put out a whole 72 horsepower,
Holy cow.
or a diesel 4-cylinder rated at 59 horsepower.
And less than 60.
And they still kept the box shape of the traditional Ford F-Series trucks all the way up until 1993, when they switched to a nice rounded front and basically basic sport off the Ranger. So now bringing us into some specs of the Ranger. The Rangers with the inline 4-cylinder engine put out at their red line at 5,200 horsepower, or on their red line at 5,200 RPMs, 148 horsepower, and 154 pounds of torque. Now you compare that to something like the V6, which is the small one, the 3.0. It put out the exact same horsepower, just at 300 less RPMs.
Could you get that low horsepower out of a 3-liter engine?
That's a good question. It's Ford.
Try.
Alright, and then if you get their big 4-liter, the V6 4-liter, you would push out 207 at 5,200 RPM. Now I know everybody's going to say they cut the Ranger because you've got, on average, about 22 miles a gallon. Sure, that's not great, but hey, everybody loves a Ranger. Except the Ford executives. They hated it for some reason. There was no reason to cut the Ranger when they did, because they're still making it in almost every other country in the world but here. I'd say we need to bring the Ranger back. If you look at the history of the Ford Ranger, it was the first mini pickup. It came before the S10. It came before...
1 minute.
I can keep rolling. It came before anything. And then you look at such as in 07, when they did their major body and interior upgrade, they made the thing luxurious for a mini pickup, even though the base price was still 15 grand. Just like our 94 Ranger, the 4-cylinder and 5-speed, that thing, 11 grand. Perfect truck. It's got cloth, a 4-cylinder, and a cassette player. Yes, and we even have crank windows. No power or anything in that truck.
30 seconds.
Now let's put it this far. It may be dead, so is the Mazda V series, but I'm still saying, only mini pickup I ever get is a Ranger. No more S10s, whatever GMC makes, no Chevy.
15.
Trust me, Ranger is the way to go. And you want to buy them now, they're going up in value. And what other truck can you put a Ford 5.0 in?
5.
And do a 6-second quarter mile.
3,
Plus,
2,
they already come 4 years.
Okay.
You're going.
It is now time for Autovision Court, where the moderator will be the person behind the camera. For this first argument, it will be Hawkins. Will prompt questions to 2 battles, arguments. The first of which will be the SRT/Dodge Viper versus the Chevrolet Corvette. I will be taking the side of Viper, and then he will be taking the side of the Corvette. Hawkins?
Alright, question number 1. Describe the power and speed and which is better.
I will begin. The reason why the Viper is better is it has that massive V10 in its handling. Everything's set up for a torquey car. It's set up to road racing better than any other car out there because it has so much power flying. It just hits you right away. Just upshift, 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 upshift. You just continue up to 206 miles an hour using a massive V10 engine. There's nothing that can beat that. And I know for power and stuff, handling, you're going to bring up Laguna Seca in the test from earlier this year in which the Corvette beat the Viper. I must tell you something interesting. When Motor Trend came through and they dynoed 10 standard Corvette Zeros, got around 640, 630, somewhere in their horsepower number. The car that was at Laguna Seca had 680 horsepower. It was a special model that Chevy had put more power. if they had both had their stock horsepower, like the Viper did when they went through and tested, and the Viper was not a pre-production model, and the driver wasn't biased, the Viper would have tied and most likely won, because it still barely lost with all those things against it. That's my point.
However true that may be, the Viper is nearly impossible to drive quickly. The Corvette has a much easier approach to it. You can drive it quickly if you're not experienced, and you can drive it faster if you are experienced. It has
The Viper isn't for pansies.
It has a supercharged V8 in this thing, which is much better than yours.
Why is it better than V10? A V10 is just power right away.
Yes, power right
Power.
away. It's
Power.
It's brash.
Power.
It's
We're arguing power. Power. It gives you the power.
Stop doing this.
I don't know what I'm doing.
It's
Okay.
making me uncomfortable. It's supercharged V8 is much better than your V10 because it's more refined. It's not giant. It's not thirsty all the time. You can be civilized with this car. The Viper, you cannot be civilized with. Anytime you turn it on, you will be killed. You will end up in the ditch.
At least Viper owners aren't old 50-year-old doctors.
Alright, I'm going to cut you two off so as no be going for an hour. Now let's start arguing the interior.
Do it again?
I shall. The interior of the Corvette is quite nice. It's
mostly plastic.
It's a bit small, it's a bit plasticky, but it's not about the interior. It's about the
The
whole
point is,
feel
we're
of the car.
We're arguing the
And
interior
when
at
you
this
sit
point.
in it, it feels sturdy, it's well built, it feels connected, put together, and it's someone has put some effort into that.
Okay. Now I'm going to, and I'll say that in the past the Viper has been improved with its interior, just like the Corvette. They've both gone through some periods in the 90s and 2000s where the interiors were a little plasticky and low. But now that they are both building their new interiors, I have sat in one of the new Vipers, and I can tell you, sitting there, it is all either Italian Alcantara leather, built by, and its seats are built by the same company that makes Ferrari seats. It has a very similar electronic system to Ferrari. The Viper, in terms of interior, has hit a new level and surpasses Corvette by a very large margin now. It still has a racing style, since it's still a brute if you want it to. But if you want to just sit and ride in your incredibly well-built supercar, it has an interior to do that now as well.
So what you're trying to tell me is that it is perfectly luxurious, and it's still managed, it's still brutal.
Yes, they've done both perfectly.
So either they've done both correctly, or they've done neither one of them very
They
well.
have done both of them correctly.
If they were trying to make it brutal, it would be brutal. And if they were trying to make it comfortable, it wouldn't be so gaudy.
Hawkins, can we move on, please?
Yeah, we can. Alright, let's go with racing history.
Ooh, here we go. Now,
Oh.
in I'm just going to tell you the history of racing Vipers. Not, there was obviously Viper days, racing series, and all kinds of stuff. But let's take a look at factory efforts. In 1996, I believe it was Kineska Southwind ran the first, the blue and, or the white with blue stripes and, green stripes, Vipers. Those cars didn't do that entirely well for those first 2 years, because they went through the same period that race cars always are now. The new Vipers have right now, the new C7 Corvette R, we'll have it next year. But in 1998, a team from France called Orica took the car and won at Le Mans.
Wow.
And it won the championship in the FIA series. The next year, did the exact same thing. Then came 2000, the classic red and white straight Vipers. They kicked off their year at Daytona, not by just winning the GT class, not by beating the slower of the prototypes, but beating every single car on the racetrack. A GT car, beating every single car. Prototypes, everyone. It beat everyone on the track. In its 2 years in ALMS that Orica ran the car, they lost twice. They had a winning record of about 94%. They won Le Mans every year they were there. And even after Orica left, they still won, even without the great factory effort. Now the car's back. After just 4 races last year, and now just 2 testing periods this year, the team is already running lap times competitive to everyone else out there. Viper, with that V10, is the best road racing car you could possibly ask for.
You seem to think that factory effort is the thing.
Well, and if you're going to say that,
If you
there's
go by
Viper,
racing history, the Corvette is so farther ahead. It
How
has
do you
been
know?
out for so much longer. There are so many of them that have
they
been
haven't
raced.
won that much.
Oh, I bet you. I would willing to bet you a not very substantial amount of money that if you added up all of the races that the Corvette has won, it would be less. It would be, it would be more than twice the amount that a bike.
That's because okay, well, the Corvette's been around for then what? 3 times as long. So what you're telling me is that it should have won 3 times as many races, but it's only winning twice as many races.
Well, if the Viper was so good and such a great idea, why didn't they make it before? Why?
Because it was an idea that came up in the late 80s with Bob Lutz coming to the company. Trying to come up with
moves along.
Yeah, got it. New Viper versus new Vet.
Oh.
This is one
The
that
new Vet. Oh.
we've argued much. The new Vet, I must say, it's a really, actually, I like the looks of it through pictures. When you see it up close, it is an incredibly, it just ain't gonna say, I won't say ugly, but it is not as good. In my opinion, the Viper will not photograph well. The new Corvette photographs well. The Viper's a better car to have and own. The Corvette is a better picture for 8-year-olds to put on their wall. That's not my stance. I'll continue with the new Viper later. You can go on to your Corvette.
The main point of supercars for people like us who probably won't be buying them in our life, is it gives us a good feeling. We can take a picture of it, we can put it on our wall, and we can look at it and we go, someday I might own that. And the Corvette is really, it's the pinnacle of design. I mean, it's American.
It's a Corvette with a body kit.
Oh.
It only has 450 horsepower. 450 horsepower. Efficient. It's 450 horsepower. That's all I need for my doctor writing about convertible. Guess what the Viper has? 640 horsepower, 600 foot-pounds of torque. It's going to beat the new Corvette until the Corvette is begging for mercy and dying.
You want to hear how much horsepower my Ranger has? 110.
I would say that is where we will end, and now we can move on to Range Rover versus Okay, guys, so now we're going to argue Range Rover versus Jeep. The first question
Jeep.
I will prompt will be each individual car's off-roading ability, starting with the Jeep Boy.
Alright, you compare the new Jeep Rubicon, it'll do more than almost any modified Jeep with the stock motor. You start going like Chevy small blocks, of course it's going to be better, you can put bigger tires under it. And off-roadingly, the new Jeeps are starting to have, just like Land Rover, selectable terrain dials. Now, the Range Rover is an incredible machine. It manages to handle every situation. Expensive! Perfectly. It has a variable terrain management system on it, in which the vehicle can think and for itself and do what it needs to travel across the terrain. It'll lower its tire pressures, it'll raise them, it'll lift itself up, lower it down, it'll do anything. It'll lock the dips for you, so you just have to focus on driving. There's none of this hassling with locking diff levers and other things of that sort. It's all done by the vehicle, so you can focus on your job. Yes, but also a Jeep is more brute force. I mean, you won't have a pure driving experience.
Why would you want to ride in an uncomfortable box across some rocks when you can have a refined, luxurious machine which will take you down it easily, gracefully, and comfortably?
Hey, but could you let's say you managed to cut the top off a Range Rover and left all the windows down. Could you do that on a Jeep, on a Range Rover, let it all get rained on, fill it with mud, sand, and water, spray it out with a hose, and everything would work on a dash still?
I don't believe that's the point of the Range Rover.
I'm going to actually just move it on, because I have no idea what that point just was. Let's move on to each individual car's on-road ability.
Let's take this shot.
I'll just give a demonstration of a Jeep. Wah, 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 wah.
So what you just said is that the Range Rover is better on road.
So Jeeps aren't necessarily meant for on-road. I mean, they're meant for going out of the box.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Such as the Rubicon Trail out west. They have a trail named after them.
I think they're named after the tree.
The Rubicon Trail is the namesake of it.
No, it's the other way around. The Jeep is namesake of the Rubicon
So
Trail.
anyway, as I was saying, the Range Rover is really the perfect vehicle for on-road. It is large, it is comfortable, it seats many people. And, you know, with the 5-liter supercharged V8, you're producing 510 horsepower. That is plenty to get you down the road in time for your soccer practice.
Or, if you have a Jeep, which I don't know a ton about the brand new Jeep, I'm an old Jeep guy from the 90s. The straight sixes, you get in the old Jeep, you get 400,000 miles on this thing. The lifters be ticking for 10,000 miles, and it'd still be running. In fact, ours have been ticking for 30,000. The thing runs like a top. Wow.
Okay, let's now move on to the overall quality of each individual vehicle.
Oh, Jeeps are way better. We took our Jeep up to Drummond Island, hit the front end against a rock, broke the spring pack in half, jammed up into the frame, and drove it 30 miles out.
I would, however true that statement
It is, totally true. I got pictures. I got pictures.
The Range Rover is altogether the much better vehicle. It is put together in a precise factory. It has a completely aluminum chassis and frame. It's not welded together. It is precision riveted and put together with some very strong adhesives. The thing, you know, it weighs 4,850 pounds, which is less than the other one. It has 8-speed transmission. You know, it can put that power down to the road. You've got all the speeds you need. You can get over the obstacles that you have to. You can go down the road comfortably and efficiently. And I mean, you can ford 34.5 inches of water in this thing.
34.5 inches of water. You can get water in a Jeep all up to the airbox. That's about 2.5 feet.
2.5 feet, I believe.
Hawkins, let's do your math here.
I believe it's 32 inches, which
All right.
is less than
Hey,
34.
you have to lift. Like ours, we've had 3 foot of water because we're the airbox. You put a snorkel on that thing, you can be sitting there getting up to your chest.
Okay, let's just quickly, because I have no idea where this may be going. Let's move on to the reliability of each vehicle.
Hey, a Jeep will last forever. There's nothing out there better than a Jeep. Like we've had a Jeep where it rusted, a rust hole that big in it, in the frame, not just the Jeep, the frame. And we put another 10,000 miles on that thing, and it never cracked in half into anything.
So, I believe what Hawkins has just said is that the Jeep rusts itself
Apart.
into Swiss cheese.
That's the only
without
thing we don't take care of. You get solid grease on everything regularly.
yes. In the Range Rover, you don't need to do that because it's got aluminum frames. And
Which exactly? Hold on. How much is the bottom line Range Rover right now?
$83,000.
Want to hear what top of the line Jeep costs right now? 4-door Rubicon with a Mopar suspension package, $43,000. You can buy 2 Jeeps for the price of 1 Range Rover.
That is nothing to reliability, Hawkins.
Yes, but that's just the point I wanted to get across.
Reliability, the old Range Rovers were, that.
Yeah, who wants to hear a Range Rover joke? You know you're a Range Rover owner when you carry a piece of cardboard with you to put under the motor so it doesn't leak oil on people's driveways.
That wasn't very funny, but anyway.
No.
The new Range Rovers, they are built in a precision factory. They are built under Jaguar, which is owned by Tata Motors of India. And they are much better. They have improved so much. They are incredibly reliable. You know, Top Gear, they use them as a film car. They don't break down. That's what they use to pull their crazy attractions
they
out.
don't break down yet.
Yes, so they don't break down yet. And I believe that is a point we can end on.
Yes.
No, it isn't.
The Range Rover is
No,
better
the Jeep is better.
than your farm tractor.
No, hey, the Jeep is a great farm tractor. They actually, back in the 70s, came with PTOs on the front if you wanted it.
I'm just going to end this now.
So up now, we have Nate against Hawkins. They're going to be arguing gas engines versus diesel engines. And Nate, good luck. The first topic we should be talking about is power in horsepower. Take that, Nate. We'll start.
And this is very simple. Let's take a look, let's begin like with a Golf, for instance. If you have a GTI versus a TDI, the GTI is one of the fastest, best cars for your money out there. It was barely runner-up to the closest S2 car of the year. But if you put a diesel motor in it, it makes it a slow, bad-sounding car that puts out almost no power at all. If you put a diesel motor in something, the power is drained away. You do not get the horsepower that you need.
Yes, everybody loves a nice long diesel. Whoa, 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 whoa.
That's not an argument at all for the power.
Alright,
the
fine,
horsepower. The horsepower.
Diesels should not be measured in power. Remember, pulling strength, torque, not horsepower.
Then why is it that in Europe most people all have diesel cars that put out no power at all?
That's because it's all about fuel efficiency. Like my Ranger, I looked into putting a Cummins 4BT diesel in it. I would get about 35 miles a gallon compared to getting 22 in a gas engine.
Let's move it on to power and torque. Hawkins.
See, now diesel, that's what's made for it. You don't see many big farm tractors is meant for power, and how many quad axle dump trucks or just semis that are gas engine is meant for pulling power.
I'm actually now going to once again,
Excuse me.
what a weird argument, by the way. Once again, bring up the Viper to help my argument. The Viper has a gas motor, a V10, which is what many trucks actually may use, a V10, V8, something in there.
V8.
Well, the Ram.
It gets a Ram.
Continue.
So, but basically it puts out 600 foot-pounds torque, more than many diesel trucks. A gas motor putting out more torque. This puts out, don't quote me on it, somewhere around 450 to 500 foot-pounds. So the Challengers here, gas motors can put out both horsepower and torque, which is more power and better overall. And
So
you get to have roar, you have vroom, 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 vroom.
Yes, but do either of these have a turbo?
Neither of these do, but
Exactly.
many gas motors do. But my car has like a,
Alright.
little.
Nate, yours is a lump in the hood for a turbo. It doesn't have a turbo.
Okay, well,
moving on to fuel efficiency.
Oh, diesel all the way. Because diesels, you can go further on less fuel, just little tiny injections. And it's not like gas where diesel, it spritzes in because the compression is so much higher.
well, the thing still is with diesels, you'll see them putting things like trucks. Like my dad has a F350 dually diesel.
It's a 6.0.
You do that every time for some reason.
The 6.0 sucks. 7.3 diesel.
You know, you're even arguing within your own argument here.
And I am.
Okay, but what I'm going to now say is, if you look at even trucks and their fuel efficiencies, diesels are not going to always be, because those motors are built so much for torque and so much for the RPM, having the correct RPM and all, that they're not going to be getting that much better fuel efficiency.
How many
than the
MPGs
gas.
do you guys
I
truck
believe that gets somewhere around 15 or so.
My dad's 7.3 diesel is 23. With a 3-speed automatic, no extra packages, just 7.3 Lariat. Turbo.
Move on. Racing.
Racing, yes, you lose. Well, if I believe, until about 2005, nobody used a diesel car, because they do not put out the right power and the right torque amounts and everything for racing that you're going to need. NASCAR, for instance, that's one of your favorite forms of racing. Do they use diesels at all?
No, but I can explain this one.
Yeah.
These, such as the diesel truck racing in Europe, everybody loves seeing Mans and whatever their trucks have in Europe. I like American trucks better.
Okay, well, I would say for racing, you're going to want to go
Yeah, if
gas.
you're racing something like this, or that, or a Viper, or any kind of car, you're not going to be able to get enough power out of diesel you can fit in that engine compartment. You have to have a big
Exactly, you
vehicle.
can't get enough power out of the diesel, so you do not use the diesel.
No.
And then with that, we end.
No, hey.
Thanks for watching Autovision.